There comes a moment in life when you finally realize the world isn't controlled by what happens around you. It's controlled by what happens inside you. The difference between people who rise and people who crumble isn't talent. It isn't opportunity. It isn't luck. It's emotional discipline. Life will test you with people who misunderstand you, situations that push you to your limits, and seasons that bring uncertainty. But the ones who win long term are the ones who learn how to govern themselves. They respond with clarity, not chaos. They think before they react. They choose wisdom over impulse and purpose over ego. The truth is simple. Your emotions can either build your future or burn it down. And once you learn how to master them, you don't just manage your life, you elevate it. So today, let's break down how mastering your emotions becomes the foundation for mastering your destiny. When you really take a step back and look at your life, you start to realize how many moments were shaped, not by what happened to you, but by how you reacted. That's the real test. Life isn't asking you to be perfect, it's asking you to be aware enough to understand that your reactions carry weight. They create ripple effects. They open doors or they close them. They bring peace or they invite chaos. And most people don't lose major opportunities because they lack talent or intelligence. They lose because they let a flash of emotion speak louder than their long-term vision. It's crazy how quick one reaction can shift everything. 1 second of anger, 1 second of pride, 1 second of feeling disrespected can undo months or years of progress. You can build trust for a decade and destroy it in 10 seconds. You can build a reputation for years and lose it with one outburst. That's why mastering your reactions isn't just about emotional maturity. It's about protecting everything you've worked for. When scientists say the emotional surge lasts 90 seconds, it shows you how powerful self-control really is. After those 90 seconds, the emotion isn't controlling you anymore. You're keeping it alive. You're choosing to stay heated, replay the situation, argue, explode, overthink. It's like holding a burning coal in your hand long after the fire is gone. The pain is now coming from you, not the flame. We've all seen someone throw away their blessings because they reacted too fast. You see athletes who lose million-dollar contracts because they couldn't control their temper. You see marriages fall apart because someone let their frustration speak louder than their love. You see friends walk away from each other because pride got louder than understanding. And every time when the moment settles, they look back and say, I didn't have to react like that. But by then, the damage is done. And the truth is, that could be any of us if we don't stay mindful. That story of the man who walked out of the business meeting, there are thousands of versions of that happening every day. Someone gets offended, stands up, storms out, slams a door, types a long emotional message, sends it, and then regrets it. But you can't rewind a reaction. You can apologize, but you can't erase the impact it left. You can try to fix it, but you can't guarantee the same opportunity comes back. In that man's case, 2 years of income disappeared because his pride reacted first. He let a moment of feeling disrespected decide the future of his finances. And that's what emotional reactions do. They make temporary feelings make permanent decisions. Decisions that affect your life, your family, your money, your peace, your future. If he had taken a breath, if he had paused before reacting, if he had looked at the bigger picture, he would have still secured the deal. But emotional reactions blur your vision. They shrink your world down to the next 10 seconds instead of the next 10 years. That's why emotional mastery isn't weakness, it's strategy, it's power, it's seeing the game clearly when everyone else is blinded by their ego. Whenever you feel that heat rise in your chest, the pressure, the offense, the anger, remind yourself, this is the moment that decides what happens next. You can be the person who reacts or the person who responds. You can protect your purpose or you can protect your pride. You can build or you can break. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is nothing. Just breathe, count, let the initial wave pass. That pause isn't silence, it's strength. It's you telling your emotions, I run this. You don't. That pause is what separates leaders from followers, builders from destroyers, long-term thinkers from short-term reactors. When you respond like someone who has something to lose, you move differently, you speak differently, you think differently. You stop letting every emotion make decisions for you. You stop letting every small disrespect pull you out of character. You stop letting every challenge drain your energy. You start valuing peace over proving a point. You start valuing your future more than your ego. Real strength isn't throwing a punch. It's not yelling louder. It's not storming off. Real strength is staying in control when your emotions are trying to drag you out of control. It's choosing wisdom over impulse. It's looking at the situation from a higher level instead of reacting from a lower one. Think about the most powerful people you know, business owners, leaders, athletes, creators. They all have one trait in common: emotional discipline. They don't let temporary feelings disrupt long-term goals. They know the difference between reacting emotionally and responding intentionally. They understand that sometimes silence is the answer. Sometimes patience is the strategy. Sometimes the real flex is staying calm when chaos is trying to provoke you. When you master this, the world moves differently for you. You start walking into rooms with a different presence. People feel your stability. Opportunities trust you more because you're not volatile. Relationships last longer because you don't speak from anger. Decisions become sharper because your mind isn't clouded. And your future becomes brighter because you're not sabotaging it with reactions that don't match your purpose. The truth is, you only get a few defining moments in life, moments where how you react will shape everything that happens next. And if you can learn to breathe through those moments, if you can learn to stay centered while everything around you is trying to pull you off balance, then nothing can take you out of alignment with your destiny. So when that emotional wave hits you, remember, you're not just protecting your feelings, you're protecting your future, you're protecting your peace, you're protecting your growth. And every time you choose control over chaos, you're proving to yourself that you're not driven by impulse, you're driven by purpose. That's how you win, that's how you grow, that's how you build a life you won't regret. By mastering the only thing in this world that truly belongs to you, your reaction. Most people go through life dealing with emotions the way you deal with a smoke alarm. You hear the noise, you panic, and you try to shut it off without ever asking where the smoke is really coming from. And that's why they keep feeling the same emotions over and over again. They keep getting angry at small things, jealous for no reason, frustrated at situations that shouldn't even bother them. Not because the emotions are uncontrollable, but because they never stop long enough to identify the root behind them. And if you don't understand the root, you'll always keep fighting symptoms instead of solutions. Anger isn't just anger most of the time. It's fear that you're losing control. It's pain from something you never healed. It's that voice inside saying, I don't feel safe, but because you don't slow down enough to hear it, it comes out as aggression. Jealousy isn't really jealousy either. It's insecurity dressed up like comparison. It's you believing someone else's win somehow highlights your loss. It's the fear that you're not enough, that you might get replaced, that someone else is standing where you wanted to stand. And frustration usually points to confusion or pressure. It's your mind telling you it needs direction, not more noise. But most people are too busy reacting to ever understand themselves. They see the emotion and assume that's the whole story. They feel the heat and assume there's a fire, but emotions lie when you don't question them. And if you don't take time to sit with yourself, your emotions will drag you through cycles you don't deserve to stay in. Awareness is the real starting point of emotional mastery. Not strength, not toughness, not pretending everything is fine. Awareness, being brave enough to look inside and ask yourself, what is this really about? That's where growth begins. That's where maturity shows up. That's where you stop living as a reaction and start living with intention. Think about that woman who felt ignored by her friend. She was ready to confront her, ready to fight, ready to end the friendship over a feeling she thought was the truth. But when she sat alone and started breaking it down, she realized that the feeling wasn't the root. The root was fear. Fear of being unimportant, fear of being forgotten, fear that she wasn't valued. She was fighting a feeling that wasn't even caused by her friend's action, but by her own insecurity. And because she took the time to understand her root, she approached the situation with honesty instead of anger, and the friendship survived. Most relationships don't end because of what happened. They end because no one took the time to understand why they felt the way they felt. Most arguments aren't about the moment. They're about unhealed wounds people never admitted. People don't communicate their needs because they don't even understand their own emotions enough to express them. And that's why situations escalate that never needed to become a problem. Your emotions are like the smoke. They let you know something is off, but the smoke isn't the real issue. The fire is. If you don't find the fire, you'll keep trying to open windows instead of putting out the flames. You'll keep treating the moment instead of the reason, and the reason will always come back until you finally face it. Sitting with your emotions isn't easy. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to see parts of yourself you've been avoiding. It forces you to confront old memories, old fears, old mistakes. It forces you to admit you're not as healed as you pretend. But it's in that discomfort where transformation begins. That's where the layers peel back. That's where you notice patterns that have been running your life for years. That's where you start breaking cycles instead of repeating them. Imagine how different life becomes when you understand the real cause behind your emotions. When anger comes, instead of snapping, you ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing? When jealousy hits, instead of comparing your life to someone else's, you ask, what part of me needs reassurance or growth? When frustration rises, instead of shutting down, you ask, what clarity do I need? That kind of self-awareness makes you unstoppable. It gives you emotional direction instead of emotional confusion. It gives you the power to choose your response instead of reacting automatically. You start noticing that the things you thought were hurting you were actually teaching you. You start realizing that the people you were mad at were just mirrors reflecting what you needed to heal. You learn that your triggers aren't your enemies, they're signals guiding you toward the areas that need attention. And once you understand the root, the emotion loses its control over you. It stops dragging you around. It stops overwhelming you. It stops defining who you are. Understanding the root doesn't erase the feeling, but it changes how you deal with it. You stop spiraling. You stop overthinking. You stop blaming people for things they didn't cause. You start making decisions from clarity instead of pain. And that clarity leads you into better conversations, better relationships, better choices, better peace. When you understand why you feel something, you gain power over it. You stop being ruled by emotions and start being guided by truth. You stop reacting to smoke and start dealing with the fire. And that's what self-mastery looks like. It's not shutting down your emotions, it's understanding them deeply enough that they no longer control your life. That's how you grow, that's how you evolve, that's how you break free from patterns that used to confuse you and hurt you. You finally become the one steering your life instead of your emotions steering you. And once you reach that level of awareness, you don't just feel emotions, you understand them, manage them, and learn from them. And that's where real strength lives. There comes a point in life where you have to look at the way you move, the way you react, the way you let people affect you, and you have to be honest with yourself. You start realizing that every time you let someone ruin your day with a comment, every time you let someone poison your mood with a look, every time you let someone shake your confidence with a careless word, you're not just reacting, you're giving them access to parts of you they haven't earned. And that's dangerous, because when someone can trigger your emotions anytime they want, you're not in control of your life anymore. You're living based on their behavior instead of your purpose. Too many people don't understand how much emotional power they give away. They let their whole mood shift because someone ignored their message. They let their energy drop because someone didn't clap for them. They let their confidence fade because someone said you'll never make it. They let their self-worth be influenced by people who don't even have their own lives figured out. And when you live like that, you aren't walking your own path. You're reacting to everybody else's footsteps. Real strength is when you stop letting people write your emotional script. When you stop allowing their opinions, their reactions, their moods to determine how you show up in your own life. Because the truth is, most people aren't thinking about you as deeply as you think they are. They're dealing with their own insecurities, their own problems, their own fears. And sometimes their words, their attitude, their negativity are just projections of what they're facing, not reflections of your worth. But if you're not grounded in yourself, you'll take everything personally. You'll let their storm become your storm. Think about the greatest athletes in the world, the ones who stand under the brightest lights with millions of eyes watching, waiting for them to fail. They train their bodies, yes, but they train their minds even harder because they know the real battle isn't just physical. It's internal, it's emotional, it's mental. Fans scream at them, Critics tear them apart. Commentators question their ability. Reporters pressure them. Opponents try to intimidate them. If they let all that noise get inside their head, they're finished. But the great ones stay locked in. They stay centered. They stay emotionally disciplined. Why? Because emotional strength is competitive strength. If you can't control your emotions, you can't control your performance. Life works the same way. If you let everything people say get to you, you lose focus. If you let every small insult push you off your path, you'll never reach your destination. If you let someone's lack of support make you doubt your journey, you'll never finish where you started. Emotional weakness doesn't just hurt you, it slows you down. It steals your time, it distracts your mind, it fogs your vision. That's why you have to protect your emotional space like it's sacred, because it is. One thing people don't talk about enough is how much emotional freedom changes your life. When you make the decision that your mood belongs to you, not to the world, not to strangers, not to family, not to coworkers, not to critics, everything shifts. You start moving differently. You stop overreacting. You stop taking things so personally. You stop getting attached to people's approval. You stop fearing their judgment. And suddenly, things that used to break you don't even shake you anymore. Someone tries to disrespect you, you stay calm. Someone tries to ignore you, you don't chase. Someone tries to manipulate you, you don't respond emotionally. Someone gives you attitude, you don't absorb it. Someone tries to bring drama, you stay in your peace. Because you finally understand that their behavior is about them, not you. Their judgment doesn't define you. Their doubt doesn't determine your future. Their negativity doesn't deserve a place in your spirit. You stop giving unqualified people access to your inner world. One of the most powerful things you can learn is this. Not everyone deserves a reaction from you. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your emotions. Not everyone deserves access to your heart or your mind. And when you finally accept that, you become unstoppable. Imagine how strong you become when nobody can control your mood anymore. When someone's silence doesn't make you insecure. When someone's insult doesn't lower your confidence. When someone's disrespect doesn't break your focus. You become unshakable, unbothered. You start walking in your own authority. And people feel that. They sense that strength. They see you're not moved by emotional traps, and suddenly the same people who used to try to trigger you don't even try anymore because they realize it doesn't work. Your peace becomes your power. Your control becomes your protection. Your emotional independence becomes your elevation. That's why you must stop letting people dictate how you feel, because life will always throw situations at you. People will always have opinions. Someone will always misunderstand you, downplay you, challenge you, or test you. But the moment you understand that your emotions belong to you, your life transforms. You stop being a puppet pulled by strings of insecurity and start being the person who chooses their response with intention. And that choice is everything. It's the moment you reclaim your life. It's the moment you stop reacting and start leading. It's the moment you step into a higher version of yourself. The version that can't be manipulated, can't be triggered, can't be derailed. When you master that, you stop living in the shadows of other people's opinions and start living in the light of your own purpose. That's the shift that changes everything. That's the moment you truly take your power back. There's a certain kind of peace that only comes from having your life in order, and most people never get to feel it because they move through life reacting instead of structuring. They wake up whenever, sleep whenever, eat whenever, work whenever, think whenever. Everything in their life is random, and then they wonder why their emotions feel like a storm, unpredictable, unstable, and overwhelming. But emotional chaos always grows out of life chaos. When you don't have a rhythm, everything shakes you. When you don't have systems, everything stresses you. When you don't have structure, everything distracts you. That's why discipline isn't just about becoming successful, it's about becoming emotionally solid. People think discipline is this hard, serious, military-style thing, but it's really a form of love. Self-love. It's the way you take care of yourself before life becomes heavy. It's the way you protect your goals before your feelings ruin them. It's the way you guard your peace before the world tries to steal it. Without discipline, your emotions run wild. You feel overwhelmed because you're not organized. You feel anxious because you're not prepared. You feel frustrated because you're behind. You feel lost because you're not grounded. You feel drained because you have no system to recharge. But when discipline becomes your foundation, everything else becomes easier to carry. Think about the people you know who live the most chaotic lives. They're tired, moody, stressed, reactive, and unfocused. They jump from one thing to another with no direction. Their relationships are unstable. Their money is unstable. Their health is unstable. Their emotions reflect the life they live, messy, unpredictable, and always on the edge of falling apart. And what they don't realize is that emotional chaos isn't a personality trait, it's a lifestyle consequence. Now think about someone with discipline. They wake up with intention. They know what needs to be done. They follow a routine that supports their mind, body, and goals. Their day has a flow. Their decisions have weight. Their energy is protected. Their emotions stay grounded. They don't break down at every inconvenience because their life has order. They don't spiral every time something unexpected happens because their mind is trained. They don't panic when things shift because they're anchored. Discipline gives you that anchor. It's not about waking up at 4 a.m. or doing what everyone else does. It's about building habits that make you stable. Waking up early so you're not rushing, working out so your mind stays sharp, eating well so your energy stays high, journaling so your thoughts stay organized, praying or meditating so your spirit stays calm, planning your goals so your focus stays clear. When your life has alignment, your emotions follow the same path. You stop feeling like everything is too much because now you have systems that give you strength. Harvard's research on routines isn't just theory. You can feel it in your own life. When you have structure, your stress drops because your mind isn't constantly overwhelmed. Your productivity rises because you're not scattered. Your emotional regulation improves because your brain isn't fighting confusion every day. A routine doesn't trap you. It frees you from chaos. It frees you from feeling lost. It frees you from inconsistency. It frees you from the version of you that keeps sabotaging your own progress. The real truth is discipline is deeper than tasks. Discipline is protection. It's guarding yourself from the impulses that try to ruin your future. It's guarding yourself from the fears that whisper lies in your mind. It's guarding yourself from the version of you that acts on emotions instead of vision. It's protecting your peace from anxiety. It's protecting your mission from distraction. It's protecting your growth from everything that tries to pull you back into old patterns. When you're disciplined, you don't drift, you direct. You don't react, you respond. You don't break, you bend and rebuild. Discipline turns you into someone your emotions respect. They don't get to run the show anymore. They don't get to decide your mood, your actions, your choices. You become the driver, not the passenger. And once discipline becomes who you are, emotional mastery becomes natural. It's not even something you have to fight for anymore. It's something that grows inside you every day. People don't realize that discipline is also a form of emotional freedom. Because when your life is organized, you don't spend your time fighting your own mind. You don't feel guilty about what you didn't do. You don't feel stressed about what you forgot. You don't feel overwhelmed by what piled up. Discipline prevents those emotions from ever taking over. It removes the triggers before they even show up. And let's be real, so many problems people face aren't emotional problems, they're discipline problems wearing emotional masks. They're tired because their schedule is inconsistent. They're overwhelmed because they're unorganized. They're anxious because they procrastinate. They're insecure because they never follow through. They're frustrated because they keep repeating the same habits. Fixing emotions starts with fixing structure. If you want to build emotional mastery, you have to create a lifestyle that supports it. Commit to habits that strengthen your mind. Commit to routines that keep you stable. Commit to choices that keep you disciplined even when your feelings don't cooperate. Don't wait for motivation. You won't feel motivated every day. But if you train your discipline will guide you when your emotions try to lead you astray. And once discipline becomes your default response, you no longer operate from chaos, you operate from clarity. You don't let the world push you around, you move with intention. You don't let emotions break you, you use them as information instead of instruction. And that's when everything in your life begins to shift. You start feeling stronger, calmer, more focused, more in control. You start building a life that supports your peace instead of destroying it. You become the version of yourself that doesn't fall apart under pressure, the version that doesn't get easily shaken, the version that doesn't quit when it gets hard, the version that stays committed even when it's uncomfortable. That version is built through discipline. And once you become that person, emotional chaos doesn't stand a chance. There comes a time in life when you finally get tired. Tired of carrying weight that was never yours to carry. Tired of holding on to people who don't want to be held. Tired of trying to force situations that were never meant to be forced. Tired of fighting battles that were never assigned to you. And the truth hits you. Most of your emotional pain didn't come from what happened to you. It came from trying to control things that were never in your control to begin with. That's the kind of pain that drains you, the kind that robs you of peace, the kind that keeps you up at night replaying scenarios you can't change. We spend so much energy trying to manage things that are outside our reach. We want to control who stays loyal, but loyalty doesn't come from force, it comes from character. We want people to apologize, but apologies don't come from pressure, they come from self-awareness. We want people to understand us, but understanding doesn't come from pleading, it comes from alignment. We want life to play out the way we imagine, but life doesn't follow our script. It follows its own order. And when you finally accept that, when you finally stop wrestling with everything outside of you, you feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Release. It's wild how much lighter life feels when you stop trying to rewrite people. You stop trying to make someone love the way you love. You stop trying to make someone care the way you care. You stop giving chances hoping someone will become who they've never chosen to be. You stop waiting for someone to treat you right just because you treat them right. You stop expecting people to show up in ways they've never shown. You stop trying to force loyalty out of those who aren't built for it. And suddenly you reclaim all the energy you've been wasting trying to manage the uncontrollable. A lot of emotional pain comes from people who don't even realize the influence they have over your heart. You want them to validate you, see you, appreciate you, support you, but sometimes the acceptance you want is the very thing you need to walk away from. You can't control how someone sees you. You can't control their maturity, their respect, their efforts, or their intentions, and the more you try to control that, the more you lose control of your own peace. There's a story of a man who spent years trying to get everyone to like him. He bent over backwards trying to prove himself. He changed the way he talked, acted, moved. He tried to please people who weren't even paying attention. He tried to convince doubters that he was worth something. But one day something clicked. Someone asked him, how much are their opinions paying you? And he froze because he realized the truth. Opinions don't pay bills. Opinions don't build dreams. Opinions don't shape destiny. Opinions don't create opportunities. He was breaking himself for approval that held zero value. And from that moment, he stopped living for applause and started living for purpose. That's the day he walked out of emotional slavery and into emotional freedom. That's the shift most people never make. They spend their whole life chasing approval, controlling outcomes, trying to rewrite situations that were meant to be lessons, not destinations. They try to change people who don't want to change. They try to save people who don't want to be saved. They try to hold together things that life is trying to pull apart. But the moment you stop fighting what's outside of you, you gain power over what's inside of you. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control your boundaries. You can't control someone's loyalty, but you can control who you trust. You can't control someone's respect, but you can control what you tolerate. You can't control how someone treats you, but you can control how long you allow it. That's where your strength is. That's where your growth starts. The moment you say, I'm done controlling what isn't mine, you open the door for peace. You open the door for clarity. You open the door for emotional balance. You start healing in places you didn't even know were hurting, because now your energy belongs to your evolution, not your exhaustion. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you choose yourself. It means you refuse to lose yourself in things you can't fix. It means you stop shrinking, stop overthinking, stop stressing over people and situations that are beyond your reach. It means you trust the process enough to release what isn't aligned with you. It means you finally understand that your life becomes lighter the moment your grip becomes looser. And the most powerful part, when you let go of what you can't control, you start gaining control over everything that actually matters. Your mindset sharpens, your peace strengthens, your focus clears, your voice becomes steadier, your purpose becomes louder. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding intentionally. You stop chasing people and start chasing growth. You stop fighting storms that aren't yours and start building the calm within you. That's emotional freedom. That's emotional mastery. It's the moment your life stops being dictated by people, situations, and external chaos and starts being guided by awareness, strength, and inner peace. It's the moment you stop being controlled by the world and start being controlled by your purpose. It's the moment you realize that everything you need to master your life has been inside you the whole time. You just had to let go of what wasn't. When you master your emotions, you unlock a life most people will never experience. A life built on clarity, confidence, and control. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop panicking and start planning. You stop breaking down and start leveling up. Because the strongest version of you isn't the one who can fight the world. It's the one who learns how to win the battles happening inside. Master yourself and your life will follow.